Alola, Winter Knight here, and today we are back with another Series 2 team. As you can see, we are rocking double Moth Rain. We have Slither Wing and Iron Moth paired with Pelipper and Palafin, with Iron Hands and Amoonguss to round out the support. So I did play in a tournament today with this team and got a great set with Gigawatts. If you don't know who that is, he is a great player. I will link his channel down in the description. Please go check him out. The matches went to 3 games, were very close, and really does a great job showing off what this team can do. So we will get right into it. But before we do, if you could, please like and subscribe. Your support means a lot to me. So let's do it. Alright, here we are for game 1. As you can see, he is rocking a very cool rain team of his own. He has Fluttermane, Baxcalibur, Aquabreed Tauros, Amoonguss, Scizor, and Pelipper. So I wasn't sure how he was gonna lead off here. So Slither Wing has been a very strong lead for me, so I did decide just to go with Slither Wing. Of course, we have Palafin. He's got to switch out to activate 0 to hero, so we want to lead off with him too. You don't always have to lead off, but in most situations it's going to be optimal. Sometimes you can bring him in from the back and then switch out. In this situation, I wanted to just go ahead and lead him. That way we can make sure that he gets activated. So we have Slither Wing. We will get intimidated here. So an interesting interaction here. Since we were intimidated, the photosynthesis boost went to speed instead of attack like it normally would. So just going to protect the Slither Wing here, and then we will switch out into Iron Hands. That way we can get fake out pressure. I could have went with first impression there, but I wasn't ready to commit to Terra yet, and I didn't want Slither Wing to take a Moonblast, as I am considering switching it out to reset that Intimidate drop. But he does protect Fluttermane, and he just goes for the double protect there. So good switch here. We do get to bring in Iron Hands for free. So now we're pressuring with Fake Out on the Tauros slot. Do decide to just go ahead and Terra here. That way we make sure we can live the Moonblast. That's what I was considering, but I do decide just to switch out into Iron Moth here. Iron Moth can take the Moonblast comfortably since it is a poison type, and then we'll just go for the Heavy Slam on Fluttermane. As most likely he will switch out Tauros here. That way we don't get the free damage on it if we fake it out and then close combat. So he does bring in Amoonguss. Moonblast comes out. Iron Moth takes that extremely well. And then a big Heavy Slam comes out. Brings Fluttermane down to Sash. So Amoonguss is one thing that can give this team trouble, since a lot of them are running the Water Terra. So then of course Heat Wave and Hurricane just don't do as much as you need them to. So I am considering swapping Palafin at least to Grass Terra and possibly Iron Moth as well. That way you can be immune to the Spore. I did notice that I would prefer to have Energy Ball on the Iron Moth as well, which will also help deal with water types a bit better. So I'm going to experiment with that. If I do end up making those changes, I will of course release a new rental code. So it would have been great to have the Grass Terra here. That way we wouldn't have went nighty-night there. But we do have both of his mons heavily damaged here. So now we just need to try to wake up. So gonna have to make sure we take out Amoonguss here. We don't want another Mon to get spored. Trying to call the Tauros switch here, so I went ahead and went with the wild charge in case Tauros came back in. Moonblast does quite a bit to Iron Hands, but it's so bulky with that assault vest, so we'll get off the close combat into Amoonguss. I'm sorry, I did go with close combat there. Just wanted to make sure that I picked up the knockout and would have still done a lot to Tauros if it came in. So we burn a turn of sleep on Iron Moth there. He does bring out Tauros again. So right here, as you'll see the play I make, I'm just praying that Iron Moth wakes up so we can get off the protect here and then hopefully get the wild charge onto Tauros. That way we can keep our pieces on the board. Of course, Hands will most likely go down to a Moonblast here, but if we can get off the protect, then we can bring something else out that will threaten the Tauros. So he does go with the Terra on Tauros here. And Moth, like a champ, wakes up and gets the protect. Moonblast comes out, does finish off Hands, and we protect as the Raging Bull comes out. So, trying to decide who I want to bring out here. We do just decide to bring out Slither Wing. That way we're putting out that first impression pressure. Hopefully try to pressure him into protecting. I am going to Terra Iron Moth here, go Terra Flying. That way we can hopefully survive the Raging Bull and get off a big Hurricane. Tauros does retreat. Out comes Excalibur. So the Terra here was not optimal. I just wanted to make sure I could survive an Aqua Jet. Of course, now with Excalibur coming out, it is threatening big damage on the Iron Moth. He does just protect the Flutter Mane, so it sticks around a turn longer as the first impression comes out into protect. And oh, I went with Psychic there, so big Psychic gets a little chip on Excalibur there. So I believe I go with the Heat Wave here. That way we can finish off Flutter Mane, get a little more damage on Excalibur to hopefully put it in range of the close combat here. But Flutter Mane just retreats, which worked out well for us there, as he would have done quite a bit of damage if he moonblasted the Slither Wing there. But we get a little bit of chip damage on both. We do activate Thermal Exchange, but I was willing to take that risk to put it in range of the close combat, and Slither Wing does finish off the job. So this puts us in a good position. We do still have a full health Palafin in the back, which can put pressure on the Flutter Mane since it's only 1 HP. So just go for the heat wave again to fish for a burn. I am going to switch out into the Palafin. That way I can reset the first impression pressure. Palafin's super bulky, so I'm pretty confident that he can take any attack here. Fluttermane does just go for the protect. A little more chip damage on the Tauros there. Unfortunately, don't get the burn. And Iron Moth does go down to the Raging Bull. But now Fluttermane has just protected, and we have priority on both sides, so we can pressure it with the first impression or the Jet Punch, which put us in a very good position for this end game. So decide to just go for the Jet Punch into Fluttermane and the first impression into Tauros, as that will do the most damage. Of course, Tauros does protect here, but we get to finish off the Fluttermane. So decide to just protect Slither Wing and go for a Jet Punch. That way we can get a little bit of chip on Tauros. That way just kind of get as much chip damage as we can until we put it in range. Jet Punch comes out, does a decent amount of damage, finally puts it into the yellow. And Palafin takes the close combat really well. So Tauros drops its own defense and special defense. So should make it easy to finish off here. Decide to just go for the wave crash just in case he outspeeds the Slither Wing, but he does just go for the Aqua Jet, trying to see about how much that'll do for the later matches. But we finish off with the Leech Life. So a great first game there. Was very positional, had a lot of switches, but the team has the tools that you need. So this was a great first match to the set. Got a lot of information about our team. Of course, he was able to glean quite a bit about ours, but it does put us in a great position going into game 2. Alright, so as I'm getting ready for this next match here, I'm just trying to think of what adjustments he will make to his leads and how I want to try to counter those, if I want to just go with what worked in game 1 or if I should try something completely different. The mons that I chose that first match worked, but he could bring a different set of mons which could completely change the game. So I want to be careful here. Not lose too much momentum. But being up one game, we are able to drop a game, but that is not ideal. You want to try to finish off in 2 if possible. So we are am leaning towards just leading Iron Moth here and Palafin, and we could try something different. Decide to bring the Pelipper in case that just to help deal with the Amoonguss a little bit better, since it is safety goggles, and that way that will enable Iron Moth to throw out those big hurricanes without having to worry about them missing. And Pelipper does also have Helping Hand, so you do have access to Helping Hand Jet Punch, which in rain does massive amounts of damage, especially if you add the Terra on top. But I do decide I want to bring Iron Hands, and Slither Wing was so good in game 1. I just decide to go with those mons again. So we'll just change up the lead here, but go with the same 4. So he sets the rain for us here with Pelipper and Tauros. So that's another reason I led Moth. That way we didn't have to worry about the Intimidate, since Palafin will be switching out. But now we can put huge pressure on Tauros with the Terra Hurricane. So I do decide to just go for the turn 1 Terra here and then switch out into Iron Hands. So as you'll see here, we both played pretty defensively this match. He does play it safe and go for the Protect and the Tailwind play here. But now we do have Fake Out pressure into the Tauros since it protected on turn 1. So great switch bringing in Iron Hands there. So now it basically forces him to switch out unless he wants to try for the double. So we'll go ahead and Hurricane that spot anyway just to get some chip on whatever comes in, and we'll Fake Out the Pelipper. But he actually stays in with the Tauros here. So not the play I was expecting. He does Terra. That way he loses that the weakness from the fighting, which would allow Hurricane to do even more damage. Raging Bull does come out here, but it is into Iron Hands. He knows we're Focus Sash on the Iron Moth. So Hurricane hits and does good damage there, so puts us in a decent position. We want to save that Focus Sash on the Moth, so I will just Protect and try to Wild Charge the Pelipper. He does go for the Raging Bull into Moth, and Hurricane comes out. But Iron Hands is too thick. He hangs on. He does get confused though. But he still gets off the Wild Charge. Takes out Pelipper with the Kamikaze attack. He goes down himself to the Rocky Helmet and the Recoil. So now I decide to go ahead and bring out Palafin since Rain is up. Give us that Jet Punch pressure. He does, of course, bring out Amoonguss, so now it gets tricky. But he can't Terra Amoonguss here, so forcing him to Terra the Tauros early worked out great because now we are threatening big damage into the Amoonguss with Hurricane or with Psychic. But I do decide to just switch out into Slither Wing and protect the Palafin, as I'm expecting him to try to Spore Palafin here. And just kind of trying to stall out the Tailwind turns here a bit more. He does go Rage Powder. And Raging Bull into the Slither Wing. So, Slither Wing like a champ hangs on, but Tailwind does peter out. We are threatening with First Impression here, as well as Wave Crash and Rain. So he just protects the Tauros. And just protects the Amoonguss. I think a better play there would have been to double the Amoonguss just to be safe, to make sure The spore didn't go off, but now we're threatening the leech life. And I do decide to just protect the Palafin, because I am worried that leech life and wave crash double up won't K Amoonguss here, or that he will do this and Aqua Jet the Slither Wing. Down it goes, but now we can bring back out the Iron Moth to start putting more pressure onto the Amoonguss, as well as threatening the spread damage with Heat Wave. Of course, Tauros is low enough that, have to look at the HP again. I believe it's low enough that Heat Wave may pick up here. Oh no, nowhere close. So, but I am just going to go with the Heat Wave. We want to make sure we take out Amoonguss here. Trying to decide what he has in the back. We do still have our Focus Sash intact, so that is huge, but need to make sure we take out Tauros if we are brought down to the Focus Sash. So just decide to go for the Heat Wave, get a little damage, as well as fish for the burn. But he does make the smart call there and protect. Jet Punch goes into the protect. So great play on his part here. I should have doubled the Amoonguss. That is always the play here. Hurricane or Heat Wave and Wave Crash into the Amoonguss. Of course, Amoonguss does avoid the Heat Wave and gets off the spore. So now we are in a very, very bad position. As all I can really do here is protect the Palafin. That way it doesn't get spored. He knows I have to protect here. So he actually just goes for the Rage Powder. Moth takes his first turn of sleep there, and the Raging Bull comes out. Surprisingly not brought all the way down to Sash, but after the early first turn wake in game 1, I am not expecting it to happen again, but I do try to go for the Hurricane and the Wave Crash here. To hopefully finish off the Amoonguss and see if Palafin can do anything. But of course he has the Aqua Jet, so that goes into the Moth here. And then there is nothing that Palafin can do here. So I do decide to just concede. That way we can get into game 3. I did want to see how much damage Wave Crash would do without rain to the Amoonguss, and does a good chunk there. So another well-fought battle here, and we will get into the third game. Alright, so now we saw the adjustments that he made in game 2. And he saw the adjustments that we made, so it is kind of a mind game here. Do either of us go back to what we used before, or do we try to change it up once again? So this is the rubber match, all the marbles on this one for the set. So trying to decide if he goes with Pelipper again, or if he does go back into Fluttermane for the lead. Amoonguss did very well for him there, so we know he is going to bring that. Which is another great example of why I would have loved to have had the Grass Terra on Iron Moth or Palafin. That way we could just have another Mon that would be immune to the spore and not have to rely on Pelipper so much. So this time I'm just going to lead Iron Hands. And of course Palafin has done well, so we definitely want to get him set up. And then I'll bring Slither Wing in the back, debating bringing the Amoonguss of my own, but I do decide to just bring the Pelipper since it is safety goggles. That way we will have a safe switch into the Spore. Will also allow us to get up the Tailwind of our own if needed. So looks like he did actually time out there. Didn't notice that earlier. Did he lead? I don't believe he led Excalibur Fluttermane. Let's see. So he goes Tauros Amoonguss. So he didn't time out, it just didn't show him locked in for whatever reason. But okay, so Intimidate comes out. So we have the fake out pressure that allows us to get out into Pelipper. That way we can start pressuring both with Hurricane. So he does just go for the safe play and double protects here. I decided to fake out the Amoonguss there. That way I could make sure that Iron Hands did not get spored. So debating if I want a Hurricane here or go with the Tailwind. We will just double the Amoonguss. We are pressuring with the Wild Charge if it terras, and then the Hurricane if not. Oh, I'm sorry, he is Dark Terra on his, so I should have went with the close combat here instead of the Wild Charge. I played a lot of water shrooms today, so I guess I was thinking that was the case here. But we will get good chip on the Amoonguss here. Go ahead and get that berry out of the way. Does go back to over half and gets the Spore off onto Iron Hands here. So now just need to burn our sleep turns on Hands here. I do decide to just go ahead and get the Tailwind up. That way we can set up for the next few turns. He does Pollen Puff his Tauros here, but we went for the safe play with the Tailwind, so Pollen Puff doesn't do anything there. So now we have Tailwind in our favor and threatening with the Hurricane. So Amoonguss retreats, gonna get a little bit of Regenerator recovery, and he brings out his own Pelipper, that way he can try to get up the Tailwind, but Iron Hands survives the Aqua Jet and Tauros goes down. Hands stays asleep another turn. So now he brings out the Fluttermane. Try to go for the Heavy Slam if I can get it off. Debating if I want a Wide Guard here, but the only spread move he has is Icy Wind, so I do just decide to try to get off the Hurricane. Should have went with the wild charge into Pelipper here. That would have been the right play because Hands does wake up and Heavy Slam comes out. But now he gets up the Tailwind. So he can easily take out Iron Hands on the next play. So that was the one thing I should have done there, was go with the wild charge into Pelipper just to be safe. So now we try to get the wild charge off. One turn of Tailwind, debating if I want to save the Pelipper, but not anything I really want to switch out into a Hurricane. So we will just go for the Hurricane here. But he does Icy Wind. And his Pelipper is faster, so it gets off the Hurricane and gets the Confusion. And unfortunately, Pelipper hits itself in Confusion here, so getting the chip onto Flutter Mane would have been huge there to break that Focus Sash. So, decided to just go ahead and bring out the Palafin. That way we can pressure the Jet Punch. Hopefully be able to get up Tailwind again. But I am going to just protect Palafin here, just to be safe. If he takes out Pelipper, then we'll get to bring in Iron Moth. Or I'm sorry, Slither Wing. That way we'll have that first impression pressure again. Luckily, he whiffs on the Hurricane, and we are able to get the Tailwind off through the Confusion. So Flutter Mane is still faster, but we do have Jet Punch priority here, and this will just help even things up a bit. Trying to decide if I want a Jet Punch or Wave Crash. Still have my Terra, so I do decide just to go for the Jet Punch. Flutter Mane not super bulky, so should bring it close to Sash. And then we'll try to double with the Hurricane. His Pelipper retreats, so I will bring back out Amoonguss. He played very well with his Amoonguss. He positioned it very, very well. Moonblast. Palafin takes that decently well. Just under half. We snap out of Confusion, but we miss the Hurricane. So that's the only problem with only running Hurricane as an attacking move on Pelipper. Once that rain isn't up, it tends to miss a lot. So just play it safe, protect with Palafin again here. That way, want to make sure we don't get spored. But he does protect here. So he was going for the protect and spore. Amoonguss avoids the attack again. But luckily he spores into the Pelipper spot, and we do have the safety goggles for that. So now we know he will have to switch out the Flutter Mane or he will lose it here. So I'm just going to double the Amoonguss slot. I don't want anything to get put to sleep. That is why Amoonguss is so good. It puts out so much pressure with Spore and Rage Powder. So Rage Powder does come out here. Will redirect the Jet Punch. Went ahead and tear it there. That way we could get a little extra damage. As Moonblast will come out and finish off the Palafin here. But luckily, Pelipper comes through and hits the Hurricane to finish off Amoonguss. So our Tailwind Peter's here, but now we can bring out Slither Wing and pressure with First Impression. So we know Fluttermane will protect here. He's always going to protect, that way he doesn't lose it for free. So I'm trying to decide if I want to protect, try to get up Tailwind, or should I First Impression the Pelipper and try to double it with the Hurricane? Or if I want to try to get up the Tailwind. But I need damage on Pelipper, so I do go ahead and just try to double it here. Called to protect right there. First Impression comes out. Does a decent chunk of damage there. Not as much as I'd like. We take a little Rocky Helmet damage. But he just goes for the Tailwind here. So we get the big Hurricane. We do actually hit and it finishes off the Pelipper. I was not sure that it would because I'm running a bulky Pelipper set, so I don't think mine would have went down to that. Now there's not a whole lot he can do, as his only spread move is Icy Wind, so he does just Moonblast the Slither Wing. It does go down, but Pelipper finishes it off with the Hurricane. Rain is up, so we don't have to worry about it missing there. And that was a nail biter. It was back and forth the whole way. GG's to Gigawatts. Very well played. Again, please go check out his channel. If you could, please like and subscribe. And we will see you guys in the next one.